Hello, welcome to another week of Footy Chat. A big week this week. We're coming off a week where a coach has already been sacked, and the first one for the year, round 21. Did you expect it to be so soon, Lorenzo?
Well, if you asked me before the season started, I would have assumed it would have been earlier. But going into this weekend, I wasn't expecting one at this particular time. I think the decision for Goodwin was probably made already before
I think there
going
was a
into the match, which they
few
wanted to win.
instances, and I think the St Kilda one had the nail in the coffin. It should have been done that week.
I think it was.
I mean,
Probably should have been.
an 80-point win and you get done.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often. It's your last game as coach, or the last game announced as coach of the football club is off the back of a strange 80-point win.
But anyways, I forgot to welcome you in, Lorenzo. I hope you've had a good week, and I believe you have with your Cats getting a nice win.
Another big win.
Understatement? A nice win. We'll just go through the photo of the week first, as we do every week. Callum Ward, what a stalwart of the game. And he announced his retirement in a joking fashion.
Right.
He announced that he wasn't being offered a 1-year contract at GW, so he was going to Collingwood for 3. But he was, in fact, announcing his retirement. But all the best to Callum Ward. As I said, a stalwart of the game. One of my favourite non-Saints players. He's been a constant, I think, is one of the terms that come to mind when I think of Callum Ward. And unfortunately for him, we start the review on his side, 132 to 44. Now, had you told me it was going to be an 88-point margin, had you told me the scores, I would have gone GWS defeated Bulldogs.
Yeah, I was going to say,
if the game was going the other way.
It was going to be the Bulldogs that would have went down. Yeah, I did not expect.
I could not see it going the other way. However, it did. Doggies are back in the hunt? Question mark?
Yes. Maybe.
And I think on the back of Hawthorn losing, 101 to 87. Adelaide by 14 points. Adelaide, we will go into this a lot. Or in a bit with the horse race, because Adelaide are one of my firm favourites, and match of the round it had to be. It was a good ebb and flow game. Either team could have won it, but Adelaide took the chocolates. And then we went to Saturday. Melbourne defeated West Coast by 83 points, 139 to 56. I was on the sidelines of Masala I was actually holding the board on the bench, helping out. So I missed that game. And then Gold Coast defeated Richmond 107 to 23. We'll get into this in a second. 2-11 is all I need to say. Sydney Swans defeated Essendon by 14 points, 68 to 54 points. Now, I think the biggest thing that came out of this game was Brodie Grundy. 39 disposals. Was running alongside a teammate just before the siren, and the teammate kicked it. He just aired him. Could have given a handball, given a ruckman 40 disposals, a rare sight, but what a performance.
Yeah, that was one of the best performances of the weekend. And again, that was sort of glossed over a little bit, especially with the game that followed it. But Sydney getting a win, and it was important to mention Brodie Grundy for that. That was 39 for a ruckman. Forget the fact that he probably should have had 40. 39 in of itself for a ruckman is a very rare
it's a great
result.
Effort. Talking about the game that followed it, it's Collingwood Brisbane. Brisbane winning by 27 points, 92 to 65 at the MCG. Brisbane defeated Collingwood.
Thoughts?
It can be done. Yeah. They can do it.
Can be done.
It's going to be exciting to see. I think this finals race has really opened up. There's 9 teams that can win it, and I think you still think like any of those 9 teams have the run, they can do it. I'll talk about that more in the horse race because I've got stuff to say. Then we go to Saturday, and I was there for the first half. I went with a few North Melbourne fans. The most St Kilda thing, I got asked before the game, am I worried? And I'm like, nah. This was at work, and nah, We won last week. We should easily do this. I was eating those words when I came in at halftime. I'm like, remember what you asked me? I am dead set shitting myself. But we got the chocolates by 3 points with a late 50-meter penalty became 9 points.
Yeah.
But we did win, so that 50-meter penalty was irrelevant. Then down at GMHBA, Geelong Port Adelaide. 88-point winners, 153-65.
It was all level at quarter time, excuse me, as well. So
I was gonna say, it wouldn't have been three-quarter time with the scoreline margin like that.
Jack Martin kicking 4 goals in 5 and a bit minutes. I did message Josh in the immediate aftermath of that game asking him if Jack Martin said he got.
But the biggest question to come out of this, 75, we are on Cameron watch. I was about to say Hawkins watch, but we're on Cameron watch. 75 goals.
Yes.
And he's got a decent run.
We're still dreaming
I
at
will
this point.
come into that in a second. Fremantle Carlton, 94-67. Carlton had their chances. They were up by about 4 goals and lost by 4 goals. So anything is possible. Now, before I go into anything else, I just want to highlight Jeremy Cameron. The games that they've got left, and this is just home and away games. There's 3 of them. Essendon at GMHBA. I'm going 10 goals.
Yeah, it's going to have to. That's going to be what
Sydney
it is,
at the SCG. Say 5 goals.
5 would be reasonable. Yeah.
Richmond at the MCG, 10 goals.
Yeah.
That's my road to 100 at the moment. Okay.
Yeah, that's the road to 100. 10, 5.
10, 5, and 10. However, it can be done in finals, so it's not just to put a stop on it.
Geelong finish top 4, which they should. They'll get 2 finals. Obviously, the double chance.
I think you should, realistically, you should win all these games.
Yes, well, Geelong will win, would think, all of these games, which would guarantee them a top 4 placement. In which case, there's another 2 bites at the apple to if he doesn't quite get to 100 or even exceed that. But yes, I intend. They put out the fixture today for round 24. We're going to have a Wednesday night game with that Gold Coast Essendon finally making it up. I think hopefully all things will go well and I'll be able to get down to the MCG and sit on that bottom tier and wait around. And when it becomes clear that
you might be waiting for the first week of the finals, you might be waiting for the second week or the prelim or even the grand final. But I hope you're there when it happens, if it happens at all. It'll be exciting. I wasn't there in Adelaide with Fraser Gehrig, however, we shouldn't have done it. He shouldn't have kicked that 100th goal
That's why I want to get it done as quickly as possible. Just Fraser Gehrig is creeping up every time I think about it going into finals.
You want to get rid of it. You want to get out of the way now rather than wait. However, something else we'll get out of the way is the horse race. We're going to go through 21-ish weeks because there's a few missing, but it's interesting to see. We're looking at the sides here: Adelaide, Collingwood, Brisbane, and Geelong and Fremantle. They're the top 5. So right now, Fremantle are the back, after one round, right? You can see Geelong, Adelaide, Collingwood, and Brisbane in the forward half. Fremantle are the only ones I didn't rate for a bit. This is something interesting. I think it's even Brisbane are there. They're in their midfield after the second round. Fremantle wasn't wanting to really move. You can see I'm hesitant. Even now, after 6 rounds, they've moved back. 7 rounds, they're still in that midfield range. After 8 rounds here, they're in that midfield corridor. You've got Collingwood, Geelong, Adelaide, and Brisbane all in the forward half. I've still got Fremantle after 8 rounds in that midfield. 9, 10. After 10 rounds, who would have thought they would be really in a fun You've got to have them in the conversation. I think I wrote them off at that point. No. Earlier than that, there's no. All the teams that have written off. But Fremantle are hitting the strides right when it counts. Positioning themselves well. As you can see, this is now taking the bottom 7 teams off.
Yep.
And then with Sydney as well. This was before last week. This is now. So you still got Collingwood, Brisbane, Adelaide, and Geelong there. Fremantle's the next. Gold Coast, Hawthorn. I don't know where they're going. Are they going forward or backwards? Giants are in that area, and Bulldogs a game off the Gold Coast, Hawthorn, and GWS. Are they going to drift off? Time will tell. I've got to find out who they play. They've got Melbourne this week. That should be a win. Then the following.
Well, with Melbourne getting rid of their coach, it's never that straightforward. It's never that straightforward.
True. But then they've got West Coast, and then they've got Fremantle. That Fremantle game could decide if they're in the 8 or not. And it could. Hawthorn need to also win. They've got a tough draw. They've got Collingwood this week. Then they've got Melbourne, so that should be one win. And then Brisbane at the Gabba. So there's a lot of moving parts. I'm not going to do a ladder predictor. However, you can see that the jockey has fallen off one of those sides and is being cut in half. Sorry, Melbourne supporters. I thought I'd have a bit of fun there. And I thought, how can I showcase that a jockey has fallen off? There you go. But that's out. Now, something else I want to talk about. We mentioned in the results. I'm just going to catch my breath for a second. 2-11. Richmond Football Club. 2-11.
Yeah, was it? Yeah, it's look. We sometimes do the thing of flipping them around 11-2. If you give them 13 straight, they wouldn't have beaten Gold Coast. They're not at that stage yet, and Gold Coast are coming along very strongly this season. But you got to put up something a bit more.
I don't think it's necessarily
about
about beating Gold Coast, but 2-11. Like, if you were 11-5, 11-2, 11-10, you're putting up a decent effort. You didn't score a goal in the first half.
13 times, and they've conceded 16 goals.
0-5 at halftime. 1-8-11. This is up there with the worst performance of the year.
It's up there with the worst of the backing of bad football we've had all year.
Like, if Boxy was still here, he'd be probably cursing the Richmond Football Club, cursing everyone there.
That's 100%.
I'm trying to think. Like, funnily enough, only one of those 11 points was kicked by a multiple point getter. Ryan Mansell kicked 2 behinds, and then there were everyone else kicking behind. So I don't know what's happening at Punt Road, but maybe some goal kicking practice. I don't know.
That would be beneficial.
They will go on the wall of shame there. I haven't yet to add them, but still, Fremantle, Geelong, and the Doggies are yet to get up there. So, interesting. And it leads up to the Volcano.
Volcano this week. Sometimes I've been sitting on one for a few days. Like, yes, I've been talking about this. I want to been talking about this for a while. This was one of those. We go back to that Friday night, the thrilling game between the Crows and Hawthorn, which would have been the undisputed game of the round in most rounds, and then came along Collingwood and Brisbane, which was a great match in and of itself to just sort of enter the conversation. But that's not the part of this Volcano. LA Crows, Hawthorn Hawks, Crows won by 14. Towards the end of the game, very unfortunately, Will Day was injured, and that has ended his season. Unfortunately, we know just how important he has been to Hawthorn. And I was saying, particularly when it was just me and Josh in the studio, Woodsy and you away, I was saying I'm still a wait on Hawthorn. I want to see them back with Will Day because it's pretty clear that they're better when he's in. Him being injured throws a real wrench in Hawthorn's plans for the rest of the season. Anyway, the Volcano isn't on Will Day, but it's on the Channel 7 commentary. So I was watching the Channel 7 game. I'd done a bit of field hockey community umpiring, which is I do on a Friday night. Come back home to watch the back half of that game. And when Will Day was pretty clear that the man could barely walk on his own power. He could, just about. Um, and this happens quite often, so the umpires have stopped play to let him get off. Now, the reason why they've done this is because if they continue play and the ball was kicked in his direction, they would have had to stop it before there was even a chance of a contest of people landing on top of him and hurting everybody. So it's sort of a bit of a short-term pain for a long-term payoff. Could teams exploit this? I mean, yes, theoretically, but let's have just a little bit more confidence in the best umpires we've got. I've been watching a lot of community footy this year, Woodsy, as you know. We might talk about a little bit about that at the end.
We
And
will be talking about community footy.
they're great volunteers, but they're not at AFL level. No one's expecting them to be at AFL level. So these guys have seen a lot of football, have a bit more confidence that the umpires will be able to distill if anything silly was going on. But that wasn't it. It was very well done for the umpires to stop play and prevent anything happening. Because if that ball got kicked in the Will Day direction, he wouldn't have been able to basically do anything. Players would have been running on. They would have had to stop play to prevent that and then do a ball up. So it was sort of ending the problem before a problem was created. And this happens so often when I'm watching games of football. This is the other thing that annoys me. I'm watching a game of football, and it's a great game of football, and people are still finding ways to complain. Just like, guys, enjoy the game of football. Particularly when this year, like, we've got a top 9 and a bottom 9, and we can have a debate for another time about what we can do to sort of prevent that thing from happening, even though it's really been only a one-off this year, because in previous years, there hasn't had that really sort of problem. We've had some great seasons where a lot of teams have been in contention later on. This year's a bit of more of a one-off. When these two top 9 teams are playing this year, it's usually been pretty good, and usually the quality is excellent. So don't complain in these sort of situations. Let the umpires do their thing. Yes, in theory they could be fooled at one point, but I'm pretty confident that they'll be able to do the right thing and just enjoy a game of football for heaven's sake, and stop complaining at every opportunity. Just call the game and worry about if there was something that was sort of didn't look quite right. Get Ray Chamberlain on AFL 360 and he can explain it on a Tuesday, or we can wait a couple of days for the experts to come in and we can get behind the goals in other vision. Usually in the moment, usually if I was an AFL coach, I would never answer any question asked by a journo about umpiring, because I would just be like, it's too emotional now. We'll come back there. We'll come back in a few days, and we'll try and measure it a bit more objectively. So that's my vocabulary for this week. Enjoy the game of football, and let the umpires do the right thing, because that was definitely the right thing to do to prevent, to allow Will Day to come back on and prevent any crazy stuff from happening. And it just annoys me so many times when people get frustrated at the correct thing being done in an otherwise very good game of football. That's my volcano this week, Woodsy.
Yeah, very nice. Now, the rate I hate this week, I think it's going to be linked to the Simon Goodwin thing. It's just something I want to ask you. Do you think that it's like the media should wait until the club announces it? It's always, Tom Morris. I'm not saying it's always Tom Morris, but it's always a journalist gets on first.
Yeah, well, there were a couple of journalists that got in at basically the same time with the information. So there was basically dead heat on Twitter, at least, both coming up as 8:18 a.m. I think it was, or something like that. But yeah, I get what you mean. Should they wait until at least the players find out, or break it?
Yeah, I was going to say the players finding out, I think, was the biggest thing. Is like, wait until the players have found out, and then you can break the news. It's kind of like give enough time for the clubs to be organized to contact members, I guess is the best way to put it. It's not necessarily contact the members, but it's like, okay, yep, we're going to be releasing this at this time. Okay, cool. We're going to have this ready to go. Embargo it till a certain time. Now, yes, you can be first, or I mean, there's no real honor system when it comes to journalism. It's all about breaking news and being the first one to break it. So I'm just wondering, where do you sit in terms of that as as a football fan and someone who's, I guess, studying the industry? Where do you see, like, are you all for it? Are you there going, as a Geelong supporter, I'd much rather get my news from Geelong. As a footy fan, I'd much rather get my news first.
Yeah, that's probably a bit fair. I don't really have too much of an issue with it, as long as it's if it's inaccurate, or
I was gonna say it has to be accurate though.
Given that most of the time in these sort of circumstances, because it was saying when the Damien Hardwick thing that broke at like 7 or 8, I think it was like 7 o'clock on a what was it? It was a weeknight or something. Tom Morris had done it just as he'd got back with SEN at that particular time after that year out, of course. So I don't have any particular issue with it personally, as long as again the details are. I understand why some people might want to do it that way, particularly with the player involvement. So I think so. It's not a bad way of putting it. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to wait to let the make sure the players are 100% informed and then go with it even ahead of Melbourne putting out a press release or announcing a press conference, that sort of thing. But I don't really see too much of an issue with it as long as the information is accurate. And it was going to come out anyway from one source or another, one journalist or the club or someone else, that there was going to be an announcement on Simon Goodwin finishing his time there as coach. So I don't have any particular issue with it as long as the information um, is accurate and that sort of thing. So no, I don't particularly have too much of an issue with it, to be honest.
That's all good. Now we move on. I'm looking forward to what you've got to teach us in this history lesson.
This history lesson, I'm going to sort of lend it into a bit of a sort of broader discussion about Ken Hinkley and Port Adelaide, because he was an interesting thing I found during the weekend. People listening to this might have already seen this going around. The biggest defeats for Ken Hinkley as coach going into this season, there was a 2019 game against North and a 2016 game against GWS, 86-point margin. But this year, there have been 4 games for Ken Hinkley as coach of Port Adelaide, which have exceeded that. So at round 1, going all the way back to the start of the season, 91-point loss to Collingwood. In round 8, 90-point loss to the Western Bulldogs. Then in the showdown, of course, round 20, 98-point loss, which was the heaviest defeat, and they got beat by 88 points, as already mentioned, last weekend against Geelong. So that's the top 4 now, biggest defeats for Ken Hinkley as a coach, have all occurred this year. And my take on Ken Hinkley has been for a while. He's been a bit like, and this is an NFL reference, so I'm not sure how many people are going to get it straight off the bat. Jeff Fisher, who was the head coach of my team, the Tennessee Titans, led us to our only Super Bowl win, and then was head coach at the St. Louis Rounds when they were in St. Louis. He had a tendency of finishing 7 or 8 wins, so basically the sort of right in the middle, win as many games as you lost. Now he's technically sort of a slightly better version than that, albeit Fisher led the Titans to a Super Bowl. Hinkley obviously hasn't done that for a grand final. So he was a good enough coach most of the time to be able to lead his teams into a few deep playoff runs, finals runs in the case for Hinkley. But never bad enough where you went, oh, we absolutely have to get rid of him now and look for other options. So he's been decent enough at what he's done, but that's he's been decent enough over a longer period of time where he hasn't actually won. He obviously hasn't won a premiership or anything like that, but he's done well enough in individual seasons to never really make you think, oh, we need to get rid of him now. Because I remember going back 2020, 2021, I was confident that it's like Port Adelaide wouldn't have a good year and Ken Hinkley would be out before, the midpoint of the season. And every single time, almost without question, they'd be a top 4 team and would play a home final in Adelaide later that year. So he's clearly been a good enough coach to keep his role, but just not been able to take his team beyond that. So, have you seen the Ken Hinkley succession plan this year? It's really been a nothing year for Port Adelaide.
Yeah,
They
it
haven't been
has.
absolutely wonderful, but being 11th, that would be
I
one
think
place
it's
out of
been
a top
forgotten about.
system.
You kind of forget
Yeah,
about that. Oh, he's actually it's actually not going to be coach next year. They bring it up every now and then. You remember it, then you forget it, and then they lose, and then you're like, oh yeah. It's like, I think it's best for him to move on. I reckon he might take a senior assistant role.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that. Oh,
Take the year off, and then kind of find your feet again. It's interesting with the Melbourne coaching discussions. His name has been brought up in it. I don't think he'll go for the main role, but he might get a senior assistant and a director of coaching title or something.
he may that may very well happen. Yeah, it's just in this one year, one final year, he's sort of bowing out in a way you wouldn't really want to do with the top 4 worst losses in his time there, and he's been around for a long, long time. And most of those Port Adelaide teams have been reasonably good in the conversation for premierships. There's been a few prelim finals in it, including last year, of course. But yeah, this year has nothing's really gone right for Port Adelaide this year. They've won 8 games.
I think that
This,
comes down to that transition there, in that transition of from Ken Hinkley's game plan to the new one, having to basically just relearn on learn new ways. I'm just trying to go through it. It's Josh Carr, that's it. So Josh Carr's game plan and working out the system and having Josh Carr's input in it. So it's kind of like that transitional period. I think it's like you look at Sydney this year. I think a lot of people forget. Yes, they made the grand final, but they've got a new coach. So it's that transitional period of learning Dean Cox's way, and it might not be totally different from John Lamai, but there's a new system in place. So I think that's going to be the same. And yeah,
it's funny when you said because they're currently right next to each other on the ladder. So Port Adelaide, who went down this more, will hang on to this coach for 1 year. Is one spot, albeit 2 games behind Sydney, who went the other way and parted ways with Longmire at the end of last season to bring in their established new guy. Both teams had Carr and Cox were seen as the ones who were going to take over the mantle. They've just gone about it 2 different ways. And funnily enough, they've ended up right next to each other, but there does feel like a bit of a gap between the teams at the moment, and that's reflected on the win-loss because Sydney have won 2 more games.
yeah, it's, as I said, very interesting and very, very interesting to see what happens next season with Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
Moving on, and we go to who can and can't win the flag now. Are you gonna? Yeah, I can't see why you would, but you might.
No, I think I'm going to leave this as is. The thing is, right, again, I've said it several weeks that finishing in the top 4 will make it easy to win a premiership, and yes, that is true. But a lot of these guys, like, go back to GWS, their best this year has been very, very good, and they've beaten a lot of those top teams. They beat the Cats in a thrilling match on Mother's Day earlier this year down at the Cattery, where they play quite well. So even a team like GWS, who's currently just in the in 8th spot, there could do a lot of damage in September. So I'm not really. It would be bold to remove anybody at this point in time. We have a clear top 9 and bottom 9 in the competition at the moment, and anyone in that top 9, particularly if they have a strong next 3 weeks and win 3 games in a row and make their way into finals on a high, could very easily, at the very least, make a prelim and perhaps go even further. So no, I'm happy with what I've got here at the moment. Do we have a cutoff for when we're not changing this any further?
I'll say home and away.
Yeah,
Home and away.
season.
So obviously you can eliminate the 9th team, but you have to have your however many teams you can have. I'll say 4 teams. So you can go the top 4. I'm like, I reckon you got to, at the end, whoever you've got on, you've got to rank them.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I'll do that.
So I think it could be like, yeah, I think from next week onwards we've got to rank them.
Yep.
All
right, I'll start thinking about that.
Yeah, just because we've got, it's kind of hard at this point. We've gone through the season. I think now next week onwards we go can win. Like we'll go can, meh, and then I don't see it happening. But the 9 teams you've got are the ones that you've got to have.
Yeah.
And moving on to something else you can see. I mean, the doggies might be 9th.
Dogs.
Might be 9th. However, I had to quickly put the logos on. I had forgotten to do that just in time as you're talking. So the dogs are the champs as we speak. Did you? As I said, we go earlier of. Had you told me the result, I would have thought it was the other way around. This is half the reason why, because they were champs. But they've got the easy game first at the MCG. The Melbourne Football Club. Who knows? Melbourne with a new coach. It's Troy Chaplin taking over from Simon Goodwin.
Thank you.
Stranger things have happened. I think St Kilda have been that team to face off against a team with a new coach, and we've always lost. So it's good to be on the, we played them 2 weeks ago. They've sacked their coach. We don't have to worry about it. really happy about that. That is something that let's breathe the sigh of relief and just move forward. But yeah, we look forward now. As I just said, it's the big clash will be Melbourne Bulldogs. That takes place on Sunday. Sorry, I just lost my spot. Sunday at 2:20, 3:15, 3:20, I think it is. 3:15, I think is the new time.
Yeah, 3:15.
Yeah. And it all starts again. Some really good clashes moving forward now. Hawthorn Collingwood is 1/7 versus 2nd. Thursday night football at the G. This Hawthorn season is on the line. They need to win. Collingwood season is on the line as well. They need to win. I see the loser of this. We talked about earlier with the ranking or putting the red X. I reckon the loser of this, you'd almost put the red X on. You'd almost place them the lowest. Collingwood, I wouldn't place them the lowest. I'd probably place them midfield. There's a lot of teams that are hitting their strides, and I'm going through that later. Funnily enough, the next game, Geelong-Essendon. Geelong, they're hitting the strides at the right time. They know. It's funny how they know the way that football works. You can be great at the start of the season, but if you're not great at the end of the season, it means nothing. And Geelong are really... They've kind of gone under the radar. We know they're there. They've been in the top 8. They've been in the top 8. They've been at the higher end of it. But people are talking about Adelaide, Brisbane, Collingwood, and they always forget about Geelong.
Well, Geelong's not playing anyone in contention, so they won't go into the finals, and this is the one downside of the easy back end of the year. Geelong won't go into finals with even playing really anyone. Won't play another finals team or finals contender. So who just missed out in the back end of the year.
As we mentioned earlier, you play Essendon, Sydney, then Richmond. I think that's actually a really good thing because you're going to be hitting the strides. It's the training sessions that you don't really have to go too hard, lose injuries, take that pressure to the next level. However, the downside is that, as you've kind of alluded to, is you're not playing anybody where you'd be facing that pressure. So then when it comes to finals, you need to be able to switch it on. I'm talking about Richmond. They play 1:20 against my team, St Kilda. I'll be there. I didn't realize they were playing this Saturday at 1:20, and then I saw it. I'm like, oh, I can actually go to that. I shall. Brisbane play Sydney at the Gabba, 4:15 on Saturday. Carlton played Gold Coast at Marvel, 7:35. Port Adelaide play Fremantle at Adelaide Oval at 8:10 start, a bit later. But obviously for Adelaide it's 7:40, so it kind of equates.
Yep.
Sunday, Giants and North Melbourne.
In Canberra.
In Canberra, yes. We've spoken about Melbourne Western Bulldogs, and then West Coast Adelaide, 18th versus 1st. So there's some games that are in the coming weeks that are going to be exciting. However, we've just got to wait for them. There might be that one or two upsets that shape the 8.
It doesn't look particularly...
I'm trying to talk this round of footy up. I can't. So what I'm going to do instead is go to local footy. Now,
let's do that.
I just want to hype up Blackburn. Last weekend, they were sitting 2nd on percentage only, so the same amount of points as 1st, but it was percentage only, and they were facing East Ringwood. Away to East Ringwood, and I was at Masala, driving to work, having the scores, calling up Dad, saying, what are the scores, and seeing the scores go, we were up. And then they came back and it was close. They got within a goal, I think it was, as I'm trying to check here. I can't remember exactly what it was, but we were able to hold them off. Blackburn won by 10, go to the top of the ladder. It's nerve-wracking stuff. It's exciting football. We play Mitcham, then Berwick, and then Doncaster East. So Mitcham are sitting 10th, Berwick is sitting 9th, and Doncaster East are sitting 7th. I'm going to be talking more about local footy in the coming weeks because that's where my focus is at, and I'll be taking photos hopefully for any finals games that Blackburn play in, I will be there. All going well, I'm not even going to say it because I don't want to jinx it. So I stopped myself, but we do play Mitcham this week, then Berwick the week after. But we are going really, really well. It's exciting to see. And I've actually, for the last few years, I've been more focused on local footy, more focused on how Blackburn are going than what St Kilda are, than any other thing. So, there's some weekends where I'll be taking photos or helping behind the cam bar at Blackburn. Come here and I'm like, I watch no football because the only football I can talk about is the football that I was serving people beers or I was taking photos. So it's interesting.
Sometimes
But
that's
yeah, well, what about yourself? You've also got a bit of local footy.
I've been following the Another Running Lines under-19 team. Mentioned earlier on in the earlier editions of Footy Chat that they don't have a seniors team this year. They weren't able to get the players together. They're all a reserves team, but they have an under-19 teams, and they're hoping to build this back into a proper senior outfit. They're playing Division 4 in the East Football and Netball League, so it's very much not top quality. It went down to the second highest, or the second team on the ladder, Bulleen Templestowe, at their home ground. Um, Last Saturday. It was actually quite similar to the first time they played them. It was actually relatively close in the first quarter, and then it blew away. Something funny that did happen, especially given that we'd just seen it in the show. At one point, one player from Bulleen Templestowe ran the wrong way and then kicked it 50 meters the wrong way. So that was quite funny. Reminiscent of what happened at the start of the showdown the previous weekend.
I was going to say,
Two more
I
games.
remember that happening, but I couldn't remember what game it was. So
Yeah,
the showdown.
so, yeah, so a couple games left for Nunawading. They won't be playing finals, but they've done reasonably well. I've watched them for those first couple of games. I thought there's no way this team might not win a game, but they've won 4 to this point. They're playing at Knox, who are currently 5th on the ladder in a 19 competition. So they're at Knox this weekend, this Saturday morning coming up, and then they're home against Montrose, who they beat at the Montrose home ground back in round 9. So they will I would have them as underdogs for the Knox game and probably favourites for the Montrose game. Montrose are higher on the ladder, but they're both 4 wins, 10 losses, and it's only on percentage that separates the two teams, Montrose and Nunawading, at the moment. So that one will probably be a titanic battle for 6th in the ladder come next weekend. But look, it's always a rough season when you're in the situation like Nunawading is with no seniors team and
yeah, well,
and,
they've been in the media for some time, and
they did it media for a while for just not being particularly successful in any way. But it's a great bunch of characters. The coaches and players have done a great job of just showing up and giving your best week in, week out. I've thoroughly enjoyed just watching them and filming for them as well, and just being involved in the club. Literally half of their under-19 team I went to school with at high school, so I know a lot of these guys vaguely well. So it's been a pretty good season. They've sung the song more times than I expected going into it. And there's 2 games left away at Knox, and then a home game to finish the season, which would be a win at home would be a very good way to end a tough season. So fingers crossed there. So 2 games left with Nunawading. I'll come back with updates in our next upcoming editions on the Lions.
Yep. Well,
I'll end it there.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be some discussions. I'm going to be discussing more local footy in the next coming weeks, especially with Blackburn making their way to hope. Potentially, they have a shot at their first Division 1 Premier Division flag. They've never won the highest division premiership, so I don't want to say that they will. They're positioning themselves with the best opportunities, I think, is a really good way to do it. I'm really just pleased to be able to take some photos for them every now and then. Being able to help volunteer, I really do feel part of the club. So shout out to anybody from Blackburn Footy Club watching this. If you happen to stumble over just to this part, thank you. But yeah, it's going to be exciting, and watch this space.
We'll keep an eye on that under-19 league for final series, even though Nunawading won't be in it, just to see how it goes.
Yeah.
And I'll be also keeping an eye on Blackburn, of course.
Yeah, well, also keep an eye on what I'm doing next season. There's a little bit there. There might be some. Who knows? I'll leave it at that. But that's all the time we've got this week. The siren's blowing. We're getting out of here. We will see you next week for some more footy chat.